Hello and welcome to Nordic Flight. Today we will have a look at the MiG-15. You join me in the cockpit as I prepare to start the engine. Flipping switches over on the right side and also on the left side. On the left side it's mostly fuel related. Now it's time to start the engine. I will press the starter here on the throttle. The rev counter on the top right will go up, and then I will induce fuel to the engine with the lever down here on the left hand side. It will be pushed down in 2 steps. You can see the revs coming up on the engine. Now we open up the fuel valves and introducing the second stage of fuel to the engine. We will have an idle at about 2,500 RPMs. I have to tell the ground crew to disconnect the ground power.
Отключить питание. Принял.
And now it's very loud in here. I better close the
Командир,
canopy.
внешнее электропитание отключено.
To get the cabin airtight, I have to turn this knob. Anything else? Let's see. Oh yes, the oxygen. Turning on the oxygen for the air cabin. It's good to breathe. Let's see, do we have any warning lights? Yeah, generator off, it says. Let's pull the brakes and rev, and we'll see the light coming off at 4,000 and then coming on when we go below 4,000. That is quite normal. Okay, it's time to taxi out to the runway. First, let's have a look at this cockpit. Sometimes I'm pretty sure that Soviet has a ministry for poor ergonomics. The main task is to make sure that you don't have too good ergonomics in Russian planes. First of all, take a look at the visibility through this cockpit. We don't have one bow, we have 2 bows in front of us. One encircling the gun sight, the ginormous gun sight that makes forward visibility, especially during landing, a problem. Then we also have this bow that goes above our head that also limits the visibility, especially in air combat. I also have to explain why it looks like I'm sitting a little bit offset in the cockpit seat here. This is recorded in VR, and the recording is only from what I see from one of my eyes, so you only see a part of what I see when I fly. But it's the best I can do. That is also the reason why it's a little bit shaky. It's very sensitive with the VR headset on. We are taxiing down the runway and we will turn towards the runway on taxiway uniform 6. We'll turn left here and stop at the whole short line. We are coming up to the whole short line for runway 14 and 32. We're gonna turn left up here and head for runway 32. First of all, we're gonna do some checks before flight and check our flaps, make sure there are no warning lights before we take the runway. Everything looking good. Flaps coming down. This little indicator is coming up on the wing. It's kind of difficult to see with the VR offset problem here. You can now see two indicators. The one to the right in the screen is for the landing gear, and the rear one, the small one that's coming up now, is for the flaps. So we have flaps in takeoff position. But before we take the runway, let's have a look at where we are going. So we can see here we are at the southeast end of Kallax airport outside of Luleå in the northern parts of Sweden. Let me adjust the map here so we can see our destination. And up to the northeast we can see Kemitornio in Finland, just over the border. That's where we are going today. As we zoom into Kemitornio on the map, we can see that we will land on runway 36. That means the runway is facing due north. That's good for the setup of our instruments in the later phase. I'm gonna zoom out so I can see the departure and the destination, and I'm gonna use the ruler in DCS here to see the course and also the distance. From Kallax to Kemitornio we have 063 magnetic heading, and the distance is about 62 nautical miles. That's about 100 kilometers. Okay, we have clearance to take off. It's always good to have a look to make sure there are no crazy people and vegans flying around there. So it's clear on the left and clear on the right. Throttle forward, let's go. Again, checking left, checking right. Looks clear. Lining up on the runway. And they put runway lights on just for us. Alright, last quick look. Everything looks okay, nothing has come loose, no loose screws. Gonna spool up the engine to 100% throttle. and then let go of the brakes and take off to the air. The spool up time on this engine is very slow. I even have time to comb my hair. Here, it's going, it's going, it's going, it's going, and let's go. We have the speedometer up on the top left. It's coming alive. We have airspeed and we are reaching 200 kilometers per hour, and we have pulled the stick back and we are flying. Gear is coming up. Gear is up. Indicators are going down. We have to return the gear lever to neutral position, and then it's time to raise the flaps. Gear and flaps cannot be controlled at the same time because they are for sure using the same hydraulic system. We are now leaving Kallax Airport behind us and in a right-hand turn over Luleå. A very nice town in the north of Sweden that is famous for well, for mosquitoes and snow. I've been here a couple of times. I have some memories of a wild party here in the 19s. If I can't really remember it, it really never happened, right? Plane is running good. We have come down to a climb out power on the engine. We are doing about 600 kilometers per hour. We are at an altitude about 1,100 meters. Climb slowly. We are flying at a heading of 63 degrees, and we will begin our climb up to about 6,000 meters. I will join you again when we get there. Welcome to 6,000 meters of altitude. We are now up in the clouds at the northern end of the Baltic Sea. You can see the northeast part of Sweden that connects over to Finland with Tornio Älv and Haparanda. It's a very beautiful landscape up here. It's kind of flat here on the eastern side of Sweden. The hilly sides are more on the western side on the border to Norway. A lot of mosquitoes. A lot of small islands down here, as we can see. Oh, it's a little bit draggy outside of the cockpit. See the blinking eye up on the left hand side of the panel. That's the blinker that indicates that we have a good oxygen flow. Trimming out the aircraft is essential if we're going to have a smooth flight up here. Here are the quite high cruise power setting, coming back in the throttle a little bit, doing about 650 kilometers per hour. Let's skip forward a little bit. I think that's Haparanda down there. Yeah, it's Haparanda. Let's get down there and see what's happening. Over and let's die down. With these planes it's very easy to overspeed, so throttle is back to idle and air brakes are out, as you might hear. Speed is at about 700 kilometers per hour. Feels dangerous. Okay, let's see what we can see here. Now we are low and fast, coming in over the bridges here in Haparanda. I think it's railroad bridge and a couple of car bridges. I think I can hear them shouting Perkele. And I see steam as they're coming out from their saunas with their knives drawn. Better get away from here. We have disturbed the Finnish lion. This seems like a good time to try out the weapons in the MiG-15. Activating the 3 cannons that we have on board. These 3 buttons up to the left, and we have these red lights down between the legs to indicate they're active. There are 2 23mm cannons and 1 37mm cannons. The 23mm cannons are high fire rate and a high velocity. The 37 is a hard hitting, slow velocity, slow rate of fire cannon that is made for shooting down bombers. To start with, let's shoot at this bend in the road up here with the 23mm. Some red tracers coming out. Go. Yep. Very effective cannons. Now let's try the Big Daddy 37mm. Let's try it on the road over here. It's punchy air artillery that. Let's fire them together here. It's a lot of nasty stuff there. Yep, hard hitting plane. Better get out of here. I think the Finns drew back into the saunas and said they were only kidding. As we are leaving Haparanda, we are getting closer to Kemi-Tornio. That is our destination for this flight. Setting up my compass rose here to point to the north. We can see that we are flying along the runway. I'm aiming now to fly up parallel to the runway at a few hundred meters altitude and have a look at the state of the runway, so we have no bomb craters or anything down there. There's no fighting going on, tanks in the middle of the runway. We're still keeping a good airspeed at about 500 kilometers per hour. Everything looks okay. No signal flares coming out, so we initiate a brake turn over the runway to drop some of that airspeed, because we have to go slower to not damage the gear and the flaps when we drop them soon. I'm flying due south, away from the runway, in what is called the downwind leg, and it's time to drop the landing gear. Gear down. Gear lever back to neutral and locked. Flaps coming down to landing position. And with the gears down and flaps fully extended, we create a lot of drag. So we have to add a lot of thrust to the engine. So I push the throttle up to cruise level at about 9,500 RPMs, just to keep the airspeed at about 250 kilometers per hour. We have to do a lot of trimming to get the plane in a neutral state here, so I don't have to pull on the stick that hard when I'm approaching. And also here we can see the result of the Ministry of Poor Ergonomics with the gun sight. It's totally in the way for my sight of the airfield, so I have to look out on the left hand side of the gun sight just to be able to see the runway. This approach is a little bit low, but it's okay. I'm scared of heights, so I like to stay close to the ground. Oh, good run. Power lines there just before the runway. As we approach, we can see the poppy lights on the left hand side. 4 red, I think that's good. And now we are over the threshold. Throttle back to idle, nose up a little bit, flare, and then a touchdown. It's a pretty nice touchdown. Smooth and onto the brakes. And let's see if I can make this taxiway so we can vacate the runway. Yeah. Looks good. Flaps are up. Everybody's happy. And I want to thank you for joining me on this flight and first look at the MiG-15. Have a nice day.